Hello, it's your friend CJ Werleman, and this week we investigate whether the Jewish religion should be held responsible or partially responsible for the genocide in Gaza. But first, please remember to like and subscribe to our show. Now let's get into it. When a Jewish state commits genocide in the name of Jews, and with total support from Israeli Jews and near support from Jews throughout the world, then it's only reasonable to ask whether Judaism should be held responsible for the genocide in Gaza. It's a question now being grappled with by prominent Jewish voices, including Jewish American journalist Peter Beinart, who describes Israel's genocide in Gaza as a moral wreckage that every Jewish person must now face, arguing that the destruction of Palestine might prove to be a turning point in Jewish history. He says that all Jews must now reckon with the truth that a Jewish community committed a Holocaust in the name of a Jewish state, and against Palestinian Muslims and Christians, and with support from many Jews around the world. Beinart also makes the case for the creation of a new Jewish story, one that flips the Zionist narrative on its head by saying Jews are not history's permanent virtuous victims, and Jews are not hardwired to forever endure evil without ever committing it. End quote. He says that the notion of false innocence pervades contemporary Jewish life, camouflages domination as self-defense, and exempts Jews from external judgment. And in a recent conversation with fellow Jewish American commentator Jon Stewart, Beinart says that a new Jewish narrative is needed because the current one doesn't endanger only Palestinians, it also endangers Jews. The world's Jewish population is now living a prophecy delivered years ago by Jewish American psychologist Mark Braverman, who warned that Israel's barbaric behavior will eventually bring every Jewish person to their knees, cloaked in shame and contrition over crimes committed in Judaism's name against Palestinians.
How to be a Jew after the ethnic cleansing of Palestine. I'm a Jew born in America in 1948. I go to Palestine and I find out that we have driven out an entire population and we're engaged in a process of ethnically cleansing an indigenous population, a beautiful, wonderful culture, to make room for our so-called redemption. The Jewish story of today is not the story of our suffering in the past, which gives us total innocence and the right to do whatever we want. Our story of today is a story of what we are doing to another people. Our story is the Nakba, what the Palestinians call the catastrophe, their Holocaust. And if we do not understand that this is our story, we are done for. And I tell you, Rabbi, that the day will come when we will be on our knees in contrition and beating our breasts in shame for what we have done. And may that day come speedily and in our time.
Israel's genocide in Gaza has created a crisis in the Jewish religion today because Israel's genocidal vengeance for the October 7 attacks were rooted in invocations of the Bible, specifically the 5 books of Moses, or what is known as the Torah. Any honest discussion about the role Judaism played in inciting and perpetuating genocide must start with the way in which Israeli leaders compared Palestinians to the ancient people of Amalek, while launching the Zionist army's ground invasion of Gaza. A clear signal to Israeli soldiers that they have license to kill every Palestinian man, woman, and child, given this is exactly what Hebrew soldiers did to Amalek, according to the Hebrew Bible.
את אשר עשה לך עמלק נצטווינו. אנו זוכרים ואנו נלחמים.
אין חצי עבודה. רפיח, דיר אל בלח, מוצירה, השמדה מוחלטת, תמחה את זכר עמלק מתחת השמיים. אין מקום מתחת לשמיים.
ובסימן חג הפסח לומר שאנחנו צריכים להכות באויב 10 מכות, למחות את זכר עמלק, כמו שכתוב.
קרה שרה. מוכנה יהיה פיצוץ גדול. למחות את זכר עמלק.
The Israeli government's biblical invocations of genocide are why more than 20,000 Jews from other parts of the world have traveled to the Jewish state during the past 2 years. These so-called lone soldier units not only slaughtered innocent civilians in Gaza, but also committed genocide and ethnic cleansing against Palestinians during the 1948 Nakba.
Lone soldiers, regardless of where they're from, serve in every branch of the military. The Chayal Boded is as old as Israel itself. In 1947, tensions between Jews and Arabs in Mandatory Palestine simmered into what eventually became Israel's War for Independence. Volunteers from 56 countries flocked to Israel's defense. In a 3-year period, more than 3,000 overseas volunteers fought for Israel. Most were World War II veterans, happy to pick up armaments to secure the existence of a Jewish state.
These Jewish mercenaries are in no way different to the thousands of Muslims that ISIS recruited from foreign countries to commit genocide against Iraq's Yazidi minority. But as we all know, Muslim foreign fighters are treated a lot more harshly in the media and by Western governments than their Jewish counterparts. A blatant double standard that has stood time immemorial. You see, whereas ISIS foreign fighters were labelled terrorists and stripped of their citizenship or vaporized by US drones in the desert, Israel's foreign recruits are left alone to recite the Torah atop freshly dug mass graves in Gaza, while their peers produce TikTok videos to celebrate their role in cleansing the Palestinian territories.
Ik vecht hier voor mijn broers en zussen. Je me bats pour ma famille. For the Jewish people. I'm fighting for my friends, my family, and all the people that I rock with.
And I'm fighting for my wife, my entire family, and all of Am Yisrael.
We are fighting for the future of our family and the children.
Am Yisrael חי, וביחד ננצח.
It's impossible to argue that Judaism has not been a central character in the ongoing genocide and occupation of Palestine, given we have not only seen Israeli political and military leaders cite the Torah and Talmud on the eve of battle, but we've also seen Israeli soldiers etch the Star of David on bombed-out Palestinian churches and mosques. And lest we forget Palestinian detainees who were released from Israel's torture dungeons but with the Star of David tattooed on their face, constituting yet another flagrant violation of the Geneva Convention. These war crimes are publicly supported by Jewish rabbis who declare, among other terrible things, that it's religiously permissible to rape women during times of war, as Israeli soldiers sing genocidal songs from the Bible after raping and slaughtering innocent Palestinian civilians. The Talmud, which records the teaching of rabbis on Jewish law, ethics, and philosophy, deserves great scrutiny here, especially when you lay down some of its tenets alongside those of the other Abrahamic religions. You see, whereas Islam and Christianity forbid the killing of innocent civilians and discriminatory treatment against non-Muslims and non-Christians, the Talmud gives permission for abusing, mistreating, and killing non-Jews.
I'm a Jew, and I just like to say that, in our Bible it says that you're like animals.
Israel is desperate for you to believe that the conversation about Judaism's relationship to the Gaza genocide is occurring only on the fringes of the internet, when in reality it's taking place within mainstream academia too. This peer-reviewed article was published just 4 months ago. It poses a straightforward question. Are the genocidal actions of the Israeli government and military in Gaza consistent with the ethical tradition of Judaism? This probing question has put Israel's supporters on the back foot, including the Jewish Independent, which responded by arguing that a proper analysis of Jewish ethics of war proves the current Israeli regime cannot be understood as a legitimate representative of Judaism. Well, sort of, but yeah, not really. Because what the editors of the Jewish magazine do acknowledge is the Bible does indeed contain passages that provide apparent support for at least some of the acts and policies carried out by the Israeli government and military, including the promotion of violent acts that aim to drive out and kill all opponents and the justification for acts of revenge and retribution. But it passes this acknowledgement by hiding behind the claim that such interpretations of the Bible are fundamentalist in nature, or whatever. This is why the conversation between Peter Beinart and Jon Stewart is so refreshingly honest. They don't shy away from the fact that Israel's contemptuous and genocidal hatred of Palestinians is partly rooted in Judaism and partly rooted in Israel's hijacking of the Jewish faith. Left with the following question. Did Israeli leaders use Judaism to justify and promote its genocide and war crimes to a global Jewish population? The answer is an obvious yes, which means more questions need to be asked of a Jewish state in which 82% of its Jewish population support ethnic cleansing and forced expulsion.
Your homeland. It's the Jewish homeland. And one day it's all going to be ours. And the Arabs know that.
So your dream is an Israel stretching from the Euphrates to the Nile?
So it's not my dream. It's a prophet that we got, from Abraham. I believe that Abraham is my great-great-grandfather. So this is a part of whatever's, at the end it's going to happen.
So the mission is to expand Israel from what it is today.
Also, yes.
To expand into Syria, into Egypt.
Exactly.
Jews the world over will also be left to grapple with the fact that a Jewish state was able to kill upwards of 500,000 people without mercy and without shame. And as Israeli Jews sit on a beach in nearby Tel Aviv to celebrate a genocide that's literally occurring within earshot.
You know when they see from far and they do that? So they bomb them.
Nice, nice.
Beautiful blood everywhere.
Yeah.
Israel is a truly depraved and demented society, made sick and radicalized by the endurance and barbarity of its criminal occupation of Palestine, which is why we must never avert our gaze from Israel's criminality. But it also must be said that we can't do this without your help, particularly given the Israeli government pressured YouTube into demonetizing our program 8 weeks ago, which means our survival is solely dependent on those who generously support our team via membership on Patreon. Therefore, we kindly ask that you please join them in supporting our effort to expose and confront injustices in the Muslim world by becoming a member at patreon.com/CJWerleman. We can't produce, sustain and grow this show without your help, and we offer exclusive content and benefits to those who do. But for now, good morning, good evening, wherever you are, and stay blessed.